Mr. Kella?
Here.
Mr. Roosnellis?
Here.
Mr. Walden?
Here.
Mr. Strong?
Here.
Okay, I think we have one request to move up a case on the agenda, V915 and V1015. These are the vacation of Baseline Road between Centerpoint Way and Knoll Road, and the vacation of Centerpoint Way between Laraway Road and Schweitzer Road. The applicant is Centerpoint Joliet Terminal Railroad, LLC. The status of the applicant is the owner and developer of adjacent property. The requested action, as stated, was approval of right-of-way vacations, and the purpose is to change these public roads to private roads. The existing zoning surrounding these right-of-ways, for the most part, is IT Intermodal Terminal. Again, the locations for the Baseline Road vacation, that's between Centerpoint Way and Knoll Road, and for the Centerpoint Way vacation is between Laraway Road and Schweitzer Road. The right-of-way vacation sizes, the Baseline Road is approximately 1/2 mile, and the Centerpoint Way is approximately 1 mile. Again, these existing land uses for these proposed vacations are public right-of-way at this time. The surrounding land use and zoning is all mixed industrial and recreational uses. That is the Audubon Country Club, and mixed industrial and unincorporated in Will County. Site history for the surrounding area: Centerpoint Joliet Terminal Railroad, LLC has petitioned for multiple requests heard and approved by the Planning Commission and the Mayor and City Council for their Centerpoint Intermodal Center at Joliet development. The majority of the property, which is Intermodal Rail Yard, was annexed, zoned IT, and approved with an annexation agreement as part of Phase 1 in December 2008. Phase 2, which included all of Centerpoint Way Holdings at the time, was approved in March 2010. Special information: as part of the annexation agreement for the Centerpoint Intermodal Terminal, the subject portions of roadways were to be vacated and changed to private roads that are owned and maintained by Centerpoint Joliet Terminal Railroad. The proposed vacation requests are in accordance with the concept plans previously approved by the Mayor and City Council. The Joliet Department of Public Works has reviewed these requests, and they are in favor of the roadway vacations. A public utility and drainage easement will be maintained over the entire vacated sections in order to protect existing utilities and other future utility needs. It should also be noted that drainage, stormwater detention, ingress, egress, and roadway easements will be maintained as per the previous agreements. There have been no objections from the other utility companies as of the writing of the staff report. The Community Design Review Board met on August 6th, 2015, and minutes of the meeting are available. And just to add something further is this same type of vacation was done previously to the segment of Centerpoint Way from Baseline Road to Schweitzer, and for all purposes, the roadway will remain the same, be able to be used the same way by other vehicles, neighboring property owners, their vehicles. So nothing will change from an outside physical appearance. This is just taking the public right-of-way and giving the maintenance and ownership responsibility to Centerpoint Way, which we want because of the truck traffic and the maintenance that causes.
Very good, thank you. Can we have the petitioner on this item, please?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Mike Hansen, members of the commission representing Centerpoint Properties.
Mike, did you have anything to add to staff's report?
I think that the only thing I want to add, Mr. Chairman, is just the fact, again, to clarify that these roads will still be open to vehicles, to the public, cars, trucks, et cetera.
And this is just taking care of the annexation agreement that Centerpoint had originally...
What really this is, as Jim explained, is the middle section has already been done. Now we're taking the two ends and putting those together.
Okay. Very good. Any comments or questions from the commission? Hearing none, any comments or questions from the audience? Yes, please, step forward to the microphone, state your name for the record.
Judy Garthis. We live on Vera Road, me and my mom, Judy, and I mean, our concerns of his residents is, we've heard it said before that they say things, our lives will not be affected, but somehow our lives have been affected by things that they've done in the past. I mean, this thing right here is like a big flashback to the Patterson Road down by Owen property being taken away from us. That was a way that we had to get around instead of having to go down Laraway Road and face battling these trucks trying to get into Joliet here. We used to be able to take Patterson Road all the way out to Brandon. Because of their development, they took that road away from us. That was vacated, 2 years ago? Year and a half ago, whatever, on us. And that's what we have fear here. When you turn these roads over to them, then next meeting, they wanna do something, you guys are just gonna say, well, they own the road now. We gave them the road. We don't want this to happen. You know, I mean, we come back to these meetings and none of you guys remember anything, nothing in them, somehow things get erased in minutes and that. And we don't want this to happen. These two sections, as you talk about, you know, just so happens that Baseline Road to Knoll Road thing there, that little piece right there is our jump from Vetter Road, jump into Arsenal Road. It's a major roadway for us. I mean, why give them pieces of the road? There's no reason for it.
Mike, would you like to address the concerns?
Thank you.
No, that's fine. Let me explain it just a little more, is that the City of Joliet rules and state statute rules provide that we have to go before the Plan Commission first for the Plan Commission to recommend to the City Council the vacation of the road. What the process will be at the City Council meeting the next month, the process will be a three-part process. Number one, to approve the vacation of the road. Number two, then to dedicate the road from the city to Centerpoint. And then third, to approve an easement like isn't existing right now that gives the public, cars, trucks, etc., the right to use the road. So nothing will change about what's going on at all, except, as Jim indicated earlier, the ownership and then, of course, the maintenance responsibility, construction responsibility, et cetera. So that's what will happen. So unfortunately, the only thing the Plan Commission does here is recommend the vacation. It doesn't recommend the dedication and the easement.
Right.
And
Mike-
obviously, in your position, you would say, well, we want to make certain that the public has a right to use the road, which in fact,
Absolutely.
that's the council's job, and they will make sure that happens. That's
Right.
part of the whole program.
Thank you for the clarification. Mike, I had a quick question. Was Centerpoint involved with the closing of Patterson Road, or was that due more to the bridge?
No, that it had to do neither with the bridge. Centerpoint did buy the property. Centerpoint bought some of the Porter-Will County property on the west side of Patterson and bought all of the Porter-Will County property on the west side of Patterson. Then they developed this terminal, this grain terminal on there. That property has since been sold to a new buyer, but in the process, they had to put, if you will, a bridge over Patterson Road. So that resulted in the closure of, if you will, half of Patterson Road, you know, from about halfway through up to Brandon Road.
Right.
So,
Okay, I remember.
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you. Any,
You know, up over by the old property there, where they trenched the road out, to make those, so those trains that come in, large thing. It's really bringing oil riggers in for mobile.
no, I was thinking of the older bridge that was on Patterson by where it hooked back up into Brandon, and who was responsible for the upkeep of that bridge.
Was, but then they trenched out the road right down there, right by Owen Ammunition there.
Right. Okay.
Used it.
One lady once.
Right. Please step up to the microphone.
Yeah, my name is Judy Kreiser. I live on Vetter Road. Is there anything that you can do for the future, since this is vacated, that they can put something in there that it will never be closed to the private public going down there? Because my concern is they've closed so many roads down there. And like my daughters had said, I mean, the hearing for the Millsdale part over there by Stefan, I mean, that was in the middle of the winter. out on Arsenal Road in the snow, in a bus. The township commissioner had it all written down before he even heard any of our comments. We could tell that because he was even starting to talk about it before we even heard everything. You know, he had already made up his mind. And, you know, and Centerpoint was the hearing officer there at the time. My concern is that as soon as, you know, Centerpoint gets these roads in their name, it's going to be private roads, they can feel free to close anything they want to, you know, and make it just for the trucks.
No, in this case, this will just be like Centerpoint Way, the in between Baseline and Schweitzer. That currently has been vacated, but there's been dedicated easements for access, and for them to change that dedication of easements for access would result in them having to come back to the Plan Commission and then ultimately to the City Council, but that is not their intention, and that's not our intention
the
either.
contention now, what about in the future? You know, that's
Well,
what
in
we're
the-
thinking of.
In the future, they could request it, but, you know,
But can you specify it that it will never be
that's how it's will be specified at this time.
at this time, but not in the future? You can't guarantee it in the future.
Well, they can request it, but, you know, the likelihood of that being recommended for approval would not be favorable.
Yeah,
know,
but it's still an
it's-
if.
They need the access just like everyone else
Still
in the
an
area.
if.
Yeah. Yeah. That's not the intention of this vacation,
Yeah,
is to,
now. I'm talking about the future. Excuse me, if we look to the future.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Baseline of Schweitzer, you said?
I can't hear you.
The vacation of Baseline of Schweitzer Road?
I did not say that.
the baseline portion is from Knoll Road to Centerpoint Way, where Centerpoint Way connects in.
You guys have been saying Centerpoint to Baseline of Schweitzer Road. I'm thinking,
And then the other section is Centerpoint Way from Laraway Road to Schweitzer. There's
saying
two.
you said something about something previously being vacated, like Baseline of Schweitzer.
Centerpoint Way has been previously vacated from Schweitzer to Baseline Road. That's been previously vacated.
Any other comments or questions? Yes, please step up to the microphone.
Hello. My name's Bob Briscoe, and I'm with Prairie Creek Grain. We're grain transloaders, grain and feed. We operate out of Elwood, and we're building the grain terminal here over off of Railroad Street. One of my concerns is, first of all, I don't have an issue with Centerpoint taking the road private. I think that's probably a good thing. Gets the maintenance off to somebody else. My concern is you know, that's the artery to our business, and I want to make sure that there's not going to be some huge fee put on to use that road, because most of the container stuff in the grain industry is overweight. And so that's my big concern is anybody that's trying to come into that park from the outside could be either shut off with overweight containers or charge some fee to use that road. Right now, it's a public road. Joliet issues us permits, doesn't charge us anything for it. And that's the huge concern that I've got.
Thank you. Mike, did you?
Right now, the easement document, my recollection, I didn't bring it with me, says that's all in the purview of the city of Joliet at this point in time, so.
Okay. Any other comments or questions from the audience? Hearing none, then a motion is in order for V-9-15 and V-10-15.
So moved. Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Kella?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mr. Rusnellis?
Aye.
Mr. Walden?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Mr. Strong?
Aye.
Okay, then we'll go back to the agenda as printed. I don't think we have any other requests to move anything up. So we'll go back to P915, which is the preliminary plat of Guzman Reese subdivision. The applicant for this is Louis Guzman. This one is the holdover from last month. Do you want me to reread this staff report or just give you an update on?
No, if it's already been read into the record, then
Okay.
just give us the update.
And I'll just give you an update that our engineering division, Scott Gapsovich is here. He met with the project engineers for Mr. Guzman. And I don't know if Mr. Guzman was there at the time, but they have come to terms on how to fix the existing drainage problems. If you'd like a more detailed explanation on that, Scott's here to explain that, but as a condition of approval of this preliminary plat, we'd ask that those drainage issues be resolved before he goes to construction on any new houses.
Very good. Any comments or questions from the commission? Is the petitioner for this item here?
Afternoon, Chairman, Commissioners. Clayton Thurston with Geotech, Project Manager. I don't know that I necessarily have anything to add to the report other than, to my knowledge at this point, once we complete final engineering of these additional improvements, I believe it's contingent upon that as far as approval goes.
I'd like to hear from Scott. Did you go out and check that out? I know you were talking to him and setting something up at the end of the last meeting. And how bad is that drainage problem?
Yeah, after the
anticipated?
last plan commission, when this issue was tabled, I met with the property owners and the neighbor the following day. I looked at the existing house that Mr. Guzman had built, that I believe he lived in for a period of time, and then he sold to the young couple that was here at the plan commission meeting.
Yeah.
The issue I saw out there was that on the south side of that house, they had 2 windows. And normally what you have are window wells along those windows, and then the ground is filled in and pitched away from the house. Well, these 2 windows didn't have window wells, and the foundation was actually stepped down to kind of like a low point at the side of the house where these windows were. So it was kind of unusual in that respect.
Was that an inadequacy from whoever built the house?
Pardon me?
Would that have been a problem when somebody built the house? They should have addressed that?
Yeah, it's an unusual situation I haven't seen, but the reason it was working is because the vacant lot to the south was lower. My concern was once they built a house on that vacant lot to the south, you would elevate the center of that lot for the foundation of the new house, and now you would be pitching water towards those windows. My initial thoughts were to have them go back and add the window wells in to the old existing house and fill that side in. When I talked to Mr. Guzman and his engineer, it was determined that the actual foundation stepped down and that house was just framed to that elevation, so putting the window wells in probably wasn't going to be a really viable solution. So what we decided on is they could put a storm sewer drain on the side yard between the 2 houses to collect the water lower than the elevation of the windows. So we started looking at that possibility. There's an existing storm sewer drain at the back corner of the lot. The problem was that storm sewer was at a higher elevation, and it was going to be difficult to get the proper size storm sewer from the low elevation we needed it to be at to connect into that higher storm sewer. So the ultimate solution was and that storm sewer drain ran out to Midland Avenue to the west. So the solution was either you could come in and pull that whole storm sewer out and relay it at a lower grade so that it would be low enough to catch this low point. The option we ended up coming up with is that they were going to run a parallel storm sewer from Midland across the 2 lots that are going to be created by this Guzman subdivision and be able to put a drain in at a lower elevation that would be acceptable. The drainage area that's coming to it is pretty minimal. It's probably just the side yards between the 2 lots, so if we put the proper size storm sewer in there, we don't feel it's going to be an issue. There will also be an ability to have a flood route away from those windows, either across the back of the lot or towards the storm sewer drain at the corner. So we think that's an acceptable solution.
And that'll have to be done before he's allowed to build a house?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, or at the same time at least. Well, yeah, it needs to be in place before that house is finished and graded out.
Thanks, Scott.
Any other comments or questions from the commission? Any comments or questions from the audience?
Yeah, my name's Joe Fabre. I live at 314 Earl, and I was unable to attend a meeting that Scott was out there. When he was out there, I had to go to work and all of that, but I did take some pictures that I can pass out to the commission of the situation here, so you get a full view of what's being said here. I have to apologize. I didn't. I only made 5
We could
copies.
share.
You guys can have to share. I'm sorry. I got my own copy. But this is the first time I heard Scott talk about, what they had agreed to and all of that. In talking with the people next door, okay, I was told that when Scott was out there, he indicated to them, and I'm going by what I was told, that they would have to build a wall and possibly take those windows out and do their work themselves and all of that. And going through the pictures, what I want to show you is when you look at picture 1, that was from street level going onto that lot. And you really can't see nothing other than the sidewalk because the lot sways way down, okay? If you go to picture number 2, it's standing up on the sidewalk, and in that middle of that lot, you see a tree stump with the flower pot on top, which you couldn't see from the first picture because of the lowness of that lot, as I indicated to you in that. Picture number 3 is the south side of that house. And as I told you at the last time I was here, when he built that house, he built that driveway at street level, okay? And in the house is stepped, as Scott said, the foundation is stepped down. You'll see it in further pictures as you go along. But you can see how high the street level is to where those particular windows are right now. If you look at it, if he did anything, he's got his electrical box is reaching down in there, your air conditioning is sitting on the side and all of that. When you look at picture number 4, that's almost from ground level shooting back towards that house there and that. You can see how the level of the house and the slope of the land that he built. I mean, he built this here house. He's the one that created the situation that is there, okay? And he didn't put in the window wells as indicated here by Scott, all right? I heard a statement up here, buyer beware, before at the last meeting in that, okay? I don't want a house built here where another buyer has to beware by poor workmanship by this particular individual in that. If you look at number 5 here in that, it's another picture going back towards the house there in that, and you see that the electrical box is down into the ground. If they do any type of filling around in there, the electrical box is going to have to be something that's going to be done with that, all right? Picture number 6 is a direct picture right into that house. And as you can see, those windows are on ground level. Unless there is something done, okay, that's going to happen is they are going to get the young couple over there who bought this house, and I hate to see that happen to that young couple in that. They're coming to moved out of Chicago into Joliet, and that's what we like to see, people coming into the Joliet area. They shouldn't have to be putting up with that type of stuff by building that house next to me. That lot, as I indicated before, is approximately 2 feet below street level. And I know when they build that house, that footing of that house is going to be at street level, okay? Unless there is something done, okay, then these people here are going to be flooded out, okay, from this house that's going to go up next to them. The last picture I have shows you number 7. That is the wall that I talked to you about the last time. It's a retaining wall. It's a wall that he put up there himself. And as you can see, the wall itself has 2 steps down. When you go to the 3rd step, which is the shortest step right there now, that wall right there is at ground level. The top step is still not at street level. It's a little bit below. But that wall there is just ornamental brick that has been glued together. There's no foundation to that wall. It's no rebar holding up that wall whatsoever. And you and I know that I've seen walls constructed with foundations and rebar and that give way to weather and all of that. This wall here, once the house gets in there, when you start running tractors in there and all of that, you're going to have some problems here and all of that. And that, like I said, it's about a 3 or 4 foot fill-in on that lot already. So, I mean, there's going to be problems here, okay? And I still get up and oppose this here being built on this here. I oppose the commissioners, would ask them to vote it down at this particular time, but only because of the situation, the way the system is. You vote for all or none, okay? I have no problem with going on Midland Street over there and that because that is already a level ground. It has drainage. It has everything else, okay? But this on Earl Street here and that, to me, these here, if a house is allowed to be built there right now, I'd hate to have it built in my backyard, okay? And I hate to see any one of you have that type of house built in your backyard. I understand what Scott said, what they're going to construct and all that,
but I don't see where it's going to be any help to him somewhere along the line here. And they're getting rid of that water. And once that house goes up there, that water is going to go someplace. Okay.
Well, and Scott brought up about the storm drains, that's going to catch all that water so it won't run into those windows. So that should take care of it.
I hope it would, yes, I hope it would, okay? But you have to have quite a bit, something to catch that. And storm, where's the drain going to be?
Scott, this isn't the first lookout basement, the step-down foundation I've seen. There's footing drainage, tiles. I mean, this was inspected when they built it.
Yeah, I mean, the unusual part is usually a lookout or a step out is a lot that's maybe sloping off to the
Sure.
back, and it's on the back of the house. This is
Yeah.
on the side of the house, so that's
Right.
the only thing that's kind of unusual about it. The new house proposed would have a drop siding on that side where the lower windows are, so that they will lower the ground there too. So you're creating a low spot. Now typically, yes, maybe the middle of the lot or the front of the house is the high spot, and it drains to the back of the lot and out to the street in front. Here you will have a low spot dictated by those windows on the existing house. The drain will be 6 to 9 inches lower than that. The drain will be, a 10-inch sewer to 12-inch sewer going out to Midland, so it will have more than enough capacity for the small drainage area that's coming to it. On the other side where the retaining wall is, yes, the house is going to be elevated to bring it up to street level, but they're not going to build that retaining wall any higher. They'll just slope down from the house to the existing elevation of the retaining wall. So, I mean, I don't know how it was constructed. It's been standing there, I don't know how many years at this point. It hasn't collapsed. I don't anticipate it collapsing with the construction of a house in the middle of the lot.
Do we know when this house was built?
2007. So it's been in that wall at that same time then? Yeah, so the wall's been there for 8 years.
Please.
Mr. Fabry, did you talk to the couple that owned the house? I had mentioned to them last time. I'm the one that said about, you
Yes, I
got to
did.
beware
I did.
when you buy something. And to me, that looks like a deficiency when they built that house. I don't know why they would do that. I asked them to check on any recourse for the people that they bought it from, if there's a problem. Do you know if they did?
I don't know if they did or not, no.
Okay.
My name's Louis Guzman. I was the prior owner to the property. I built it for myself and also built a home behind it. I lived in the home for since 2007, since I built it. I built it for a home for us, our family, to stay there forever, but you grow out of things and you change your mind, and I thought that's why we built a $300,000 plus home and a $180,000 street. You can say, so I overbuilt. We all know John, the inspector that inspected the drain lines and everything. He's a very tough inspector. He doesn't let anything go, so there's drain tile inside and outside. You only require the outside. I have more than $60,000 into that basement.
Yeah.
Okay, and it never got flooded once. It got flooded. She called me, the owner that's there now called me and said, my basement's flooding. I said, okay, first question is there power? The whole block lost power. Your sump pump doesn't have power.
Right.
These people moved in from the city. They used to live in an apartment, don't know what a sump pump is. So I've never had any issue. I wouldn't have dumped that kind of money into my basement. So, double rebar. Before the energy code was in here, that house is way above energy code in 2007. I did a good job on my home, and I'm proud of it. So I build quality homes.
Very good. Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the commission?
Who's going to pay for this sewer work? And who's going to maintain it?
I'm going to pay for it. It's maintained by the city, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It'll be in a storm sewer easement. So it's there for us to maintain. And that was part of the original proposal,
Yeah.
was to have a small 4-inch tile back there. We said that's not something that we would maintain. We need it to be, 10, 12 inches minimum. And that's why they needed to lower the sewer, run a new sewer in at a lower elevation so it was deep enough to fit the size foot we needed. It was too shallow. The existing was too shallow, so.
Okay.
And I know there's been a lot of talk about the retaining wall. Anytime you build a retaining wall, it's a landscape wall, you put drain tile behind it. in order to release the pressure in case their water, it does get built up. So there's a drain tile going behind that wall and lets pipes. There hasn't been once that water has gone through that wall. And both neighbors of mine that are to the, let's say, south, they both work for the city of Joliet. If there was ever an issue with that, I think they would have spoke up. And, you know, once again, really, I'm just here to clarify my name because I saw kind of the footage of the last meeting that I heard, and just things were said that weren't correct, so.
Okay, well, thank you. Any other comments or questions from the commission? Any other comments or questions from the audience? Hearing none, then a motion's in order for P-9-15.
So moved. Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mr. Rosanellis?
Aye.
Mr. Walden?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Mr. Kella?
Aye.
Mr. Strong?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to our next agenda item, P-1215 and V-1115. The preliminary plat of Bradford Real Estate Subdivision and Minor Subdivision and the vacation of a 10-foot wide drainage easement located at 2575 Plainfield Road. The applicant is William Shank. The status of the applicant is the contract purchaser and developer. The owner is Bradford Joliet 1 LLC. Requested action is approval of a preliminary plat and vacation of drainage easement. Purpose is to allow consolidation of a one-lot minor subdivision from 3 existing lots. Existing zoning is B3 General Business. Again, this location is 2575 Plainfield Road. That's the newly assigned address, which is at the northeast corner of Plainfield Road and Garden Street. The size of this proposal for the subdivision entirely is 1.05 acres. The existing land use is 3 single-family homes. Surrounding land use is zoning. To the north is commercial B3. To the south is commercial B3. To the east is residential R2. And to the west is residential R2. Site history. The subject site was annexed in Zone B3 General Business in 2006. Variations on required off-street parking spaces from 51 to 45 and on the required size of a parking stall from 9 feet by 20 foot to 9 feet by 18 feet were approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals in March 2015 in order to allow the construction of a 9,200 square foot multi-tenant commercial building. Proposed Potbelly's Restaurant has requested a variance on additional signage at the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting earlier today, and that was approved. Special information. The approval of the proposed preliminary plat will allow the consolidation of 3 existing lots into 1 lot, which will allow the construction of a 9,200 square foot multi-tenant commercial building. The plat, which is attached for the development, shows the layout for the building footprint, parking lot, drive-through, and stormwater detention pond. There are 2 curb cuts proposed for Garden Street, 1 full access and 1 in only that will service a drive-through. These locations are subject to approval by IDOT along with the proposed 3-lane intersection at Plainfield Road. The 10-foot wide internal drainage easement that is proposed to be vacated will not be needed when the lots become combined. The proposed building will be required to meet the city's non-residential design standards, which will require full brick and/or stone veneer material, and those building plans are also attached. The site will be fully landscaped as per the landscape ordinance, and a new 6-foot-high board-on-board fence will need to be installed along the east property line adjacent to the existing residential property. All public improvements will be completed as per the requirements of the subdivision regulations and Public Works and Utilities Department, and the developer impact fee will be required per city ordinance. Beyond the staff report, I'd just like to note that there are some issues still being worked out with the developer on this, so any approval would be conditional.
Very good. Thank you. Could we have the petitioner on this item, please?
My name's Michael Caldwell. I'm the engineer on the project. I'm here to represent it. I think Jim has done a pretty good job of summing it up. We did meet with staff yesterday to go over development of the parcel and various things that make this parcels, challenges, trying to make them a little bit easier to move forward. So basically, if there's any questions on this, I'm here to respond to those.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from the commission? Any comments or questions from the audience? Hearing none, a motion is in order for P-12-15 and V-11-15.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Rosenellis?
Aye.
Mr. Walden?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Mr. Kella?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mr. Strong?
Aye.
So.
Thank you.
Okay, our next agenda item is M315. That is an ordinance amending the stormwater management regulations, Section 31-205A1. Section 31-205 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Joliet consists of regulations designed to protect the health, safety, and welfare of citizens of Joliet by ensuring that new developments are adequately protected from flooding and other environmental problems. The proposed ordinance will correct an omission made when the city adopted a revision to the City of Joliet stormwater management regulations in October of 2014, and that amendment was made to provide a site runoff storage requirement table which establishes when stormwater detention is required for a site. The result of the new table was to not require storm detention for developments in the City of Joliet that are under 1 acre in size. The correction, which adds Section 31-205A1 to the Stormwater Management Ordinance, is found in the attached Exhibit A. The paragraph reads as follows. The peak discharge rate from a storm detention facility shall be controlled for the 2-year 24-hour storm event and the 100-year 24-hour storm event to levels that will not cause an increase in flooding or channel instability downstream when considered an aggregate with other developed properties and downstream drainage capacities. The peak discharge from events less than or equal to the 2-year event shall not be greater than 0.04 CFS per acre of property drain. The peak 100-year discharge shall not be greater than 0.15 CFS per acre of property drained. The Community Design Review Board reviewed this item at their meeting held August 6, 2015. There were no subsequent comments from public utilities or other city departments. Minutes of the meeting are on file with the Planning Division, and that is our staff report.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from the commission?
I have one. Will there be like runoff checks established for proposed areas that are affected?
Runoff checks?
Well, I mean, to find out if it's 0.04 or 0.15?
Yeah, that's we check every new site that comes in that is required to have storm detention. That is the release rates that we use to establish how much water can come off the site, and it also establishes how much volume you have to contain on the site. Basically, what happened is that this paragraph was always in our storm detention ordinance. Back, I think Jim said in October of 2014, the intent was to add a table into our stormwater ordinance, which kind of matched up with the Will County stormwater ordinance. And in that table, the main intent was to not require detention for sites less than 1 acre. We made that change, and that was supposed to be an addition to this paragraph. And what happened is it actually went in and replaced this paragraph when we lost this paragraph. So what we were trying to do here is just add this paragraph back into our ordinance so that we have something that somebody can look at and realize what the release rates have to be for a site. Okay. So we added something previously and we lost this paragraph. We're just trying to add this paragraph back in. It's a clarification, a correction is all it is. It's nothing new that wasn't in our ordinance since, forever.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the commission? Any comments or questions from the audience? Hearing none, a motion's in order for M-3-15.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Walden?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Mr. Kella?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mr. Rosenellis?
Aye.
Mr. Strong?
Aye.
Okay, with that brings us to the approval of the July 16th minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
And now the approval to finish the meeting.
Adjourn.
Adjourn the meeting.
Ayes have it.
All right.